So the MPC sample is finally here, and I kind of want to give you guys my first impressions on this device. I've been using it for the past 2 days since it launched yesterday, and pretty much is exactly what I was expecting it to be. Just a really solid, portable sampler that's really easy to get into, very straightforward, and that's probably one of the strongest suits about it. And overall, it does replace something like my SP404 and my KO2, which I have already sold, because this thing kind of covers exactly what both of those devices were being used for. I was pretty much using the SP404 as an effects unit, as a performance tool, and as a resampling tool. Now we're going to get to the resampling because I will say the resampling on the MPC sample is kind of awful in my opinion. I don't like the way it works. It's not intuitive. We'll talk about that soon. Now the KO2, on the other hand, I would say is a little bit closer to what this device is. It's just another solid sampler that's really good at sequencing. It's better at resampling in my opinion. And overall, it just had all the bells and whistles to make a great sampler, but the problem with it was just the limitations. It just has very, big limitations like the memory and then the polyphony as well. The way you would have to kind of juggle between mono and stereo was very annoying. And overall, the build quality, it wasn't that great. It was kind of like a toy. Now, something like the MPC sample does have great build quality. These pads, by the way, are amazing. They feel great. They definitely have the MPC feel. They gave you a wrist guard. So nice of them, honestly. This thing actually feels very nice. And overall, the whole device is just, it feels premium. It has a little bit of weight to it. The battery life is great. I used this all day today and it did not drop below green. And I used it for at least 2.5 hours and it was still in green. So that's good. I don't really need more than 3 hours, but I would like a device to at least last up to 5 to 4 just in case I am going to be playing that long. But overall, so far the device is great. Now let's hop into it because I want to go over some of the quirks. And I kind of also want to talk about how easy it is just to make a beat. And I want to compare it a little bit to something like the MPC Live 3 here or even the MPC Plus because while this is another MPC, it's not the same as the MPC 1 Plus or the Live 3 here. It's very limiting. And that's not a bad thing, but it's not, this is not going to replace one of these devices. It's just a companion for these devices. So let's hop in. So let's talk about the layout here. Akai did a really good job at just having everything kind of right in front of you, very easily accessible, and it's very easy to just navigate in general. So over here you have the sample page. This will take you to your current bank that you have on. So right now I'm on bank A, you could go to bank B, C, or D. Very easy to work with. You have your own dedicated sequence button, which is great. So you could pick what sequence you want to work in. And this is where you would change something like your BPM, where you would change, how many bars you want to do, or the global BPM as well, if you want all the pads to have the exact same BPM or you want it to be independently of one another. This is also where you could change your swing for for the quantization and things like that, which is great. So if we go to sample here, I'm gonna show you guys how easy it is to kind of chop up a sample. So I have a sample right here already set up, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy it so you can also see how easy it is to copy. So while this is selected, you could hold the shift button, press copy, and then you just press another pad over here. So now this thing is over here, which is really easy. So it's very easy to copy pads and kind of, make new sample chops. If I press chop here, it's going to have all the original chops that I made as well. What I'm going to do is delete all of those real quick. So you could choose what sample chops you want here. So I don't know if I'm blocking the screen, but you have different chop modes. You have threshold, you have regions, and that would go up to, I believe, 16. And then you have manual chop. Now I'm going to keep it simple and just go to 16 here. So 16 chops right here, and you guys could pretty much, just quickly rehearse these if you want. Very simple, very easy to work with, so that's really cool. And if you hit the chop mode again, then you're out of the chop section. Now this is one of the cool things about this device is that you could have them independently living in their own pads. You don't have to commit them to a separate pad like you do in the original MPC. You can just have everything all in one pad, hit chop, and just perform from there and record from there. Now you could still, extract those and put them in their own separate pads if you want to make like a drum kit to finger drum with, but you don't really need to do that. So let's make a quick beat and I'll show you guys how easy it is to just make a beat. You have a dedicated sequence record button here and you just press play and it will just kind of get going. Now the drums are going to be very basic as well as the beat, so just keep that in mind just because I want to make this really easily to understand. So let's get to it. So what's good about this is that it has quantized. So even though I messed up on timing, it kind of, locked everything in place for me, which is really good. So it's really easy for beginners that don't know how to finger drum yet, and they just kind of want to lay down a really quick track. Now we're going to add in the sample now. And what's cool about this is that, again, you could record from this section here. You don't have to, export the samples. So let's lay that down real quick. So see that it's really easy just to start recording and just start messing with effects. It's very immediate, very fast, and very intuitive, and that's what I like about it. So right there, we just have one sequence, right? So that's gonna be on this pad. So what happens if I don't even want that anymore? You just hold the erase button and just tap it. That erases the whole sequence. And again, we have an undo button. So if you did that by mistake, you go ahead and press shift, press undo over here, the sequence is back now, and you can just press play and it'll start playing. So that's really cool. The other thing that's really nice about this machine is just how easy it is to kind of mute pads as well. So if I go ahead, go back into my sample page, and we're gonna go ahead and play this again. I'm gonna mute some pads so you guys could just see what it's like. So see, it's really easy to work with, and that's what makes this so fun, as opposed to, something like that's before 4 or even the KO2. It's just that it just has more of the bells and whistles that you would want from those devices, like an undo button, a simple way to just start sequencing, and just more memory in general. Like, this thing already has built-in memory. I believe it's 8 gigs, I'm not sure, but it's enough memory, and it has, expandable storage over here. We have an SD card, so that's really nice, but overall, it's just really easy to work with, and that's what I like about it. Now, there is some quirks, like I said. There is a really weird resampling thing going on here. I don't like the way it works, but the resample button is right here on pad 11. If I go ahead, press shift and press resample, it says resample sequence, select pad. It literally resamples the entire sequence, which is strange and a little bit odd that they made it this way, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So there we go. Now all I have over here is just my sequence, like the entire sequence. I wish it was not like this. I wish it was very easy to just resample one pad with whatever effects I want on it without having to use something like recall or having to do all those extra things. So I'm gonna show you guys what happened here. See, it just pretty much played back exactly what I just recorded in the sequencer, which, is not that it's not cool, but I wish that we just had a more simplified version of resample, just a more traditional way to resample. I don't like this sequence resampling. I wish you could choose between sequence or pad. That way you could, just be more flexible, and, not everyone's going to want to just resample their entire, sequence with that. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete this. Now, if you start to add an effect, so let's say we go to, I think it's pad knob here. And oops, let me just go over here. I don't know if it's going to record it into it, but let's go ahead. So let's pick something like, I don't know, let's go to vintage emulation, or yeah, let's do vintage emulation. Let's do tape, and let's make it very, very noticeable. Let's do the pitch up, let's do even the noise all the way up. Now, so if I go ahead and just get out of this page, and now if I want to resample, watch this. So I'm gonna go ahead, resample, select the same pad. All right, so we're going to play this back, and you're going to hear those effects on top of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the effects knob first, and I'm going to just press bypass. That way it's off, so you can see that it baked it into the entire sequence. So let's go ahead and check this out. I see that's super weird that it resamples like that. You can't just press the pad, press whatever effects you want and just throw it on there. It just does it through the whole sequence, and it's really annoying. Now there is another way to kind of go about it. I'm going to erase this. You could pretty much, add an effects on here. So let's go into the pad knob here. Let's pick like my main sample page right here. So this would take me to my sample. So this is this sample right here. See, so it's affecting that pad. Now, if I play this now in chop mode, and then I press recall, it's gonna, show up as separate samples in a full-blown, waveform. But it's really annoying because you're gonna have to re-chop that. You can't just do one unless you only play one. So I'm gonna show you guys the workaround for this right now. Alright, so after pressing both of those, we're going to go ahead and press sample recall. It went to sample 8, or pad 8. Sorry about that. Let's get out of chop mode. So pad 8's over here. So, oops, it didn't actually pop up. Interesting. Oh, my bad. Pad 8's over here. So even then, it didn't do it. So here's a quirk. It has to be in resample. I forgot about this, but this is the whole thing that I really dislike about it. You have to go to monitoring, and it literally has to be set to resample. And I think that's also a very interesting quirk, and I don't really like that. I wish it was just working in no matter what, mode you're in, because that means you always have to make sure you're in resample before you do that. So let's go ahead and try this again. Alright, so now it should have worked. It's on pad 13 over here. So if I play this now, you're going to hear it. B. So this is a workaround to resample, but again, you see this 1 point over here? That was from earlier. This is my voice, and that's kind of, again, you're going to have to go through all this and find exactly where it was that you resampled or the things that you want to resample. And again, that's just not fun. I don't want to have to spend time looking exactly for the sound that I wanted to resample with the effects. I just want to be able to throw them on a pad really easily. So hopefully they fix this in an update. I'm assuming they will. I'm assuming some people will complain about that quirk because it's just not really, I would say, intuitive. That's like a really big hiccup and a big missed opportunity in my opinion. Something like the SP404 is just way better at this. Even the KO2 is better at this. So that's a little bit, it's kind of sad. So I know I said I wanted to do a comparison with this and the OnePlus as well as Live 3, but I feel like that needs its own dedicated video. It's just going to be too long to make with this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time guys, keep making beats.